Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Just Me. Today, we're joined by Cameron Reardon, and he is it's got a really brilliant idea that want the world to listen and share. So, Cameron, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. So, firstly, I mean, obviously, we know who you are, but what is it that you do? And this, everyone who's listening, is I put certain things in kind of brilliant categories, and I think what you're doing is brilliant. So, please tell us.
Yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, I breed exotic insects for many purposes, some as pets, some as food for other animals, such as like your lizards and your snakes and everything. Um, and we also do like fear classes, education schemes, all around insects.
It's so cool. So how did you come up with this? And can you tell people how old you are? Am I allowed to ask that?
Yeah, it's no problem. I'm 19 years old. And I came up with the idea as it was kind of like my hobby at the time. I used to keep lots of different exotic animals. So I have like my lizards, and I used to have like pet stick insects and so on. So I saw that there was a big gap in the market 'cause it's such a niche business. So that's why I came up with Bug Box then.
And this has been going for how long?
It's been about 3, maybe 4 years now.
Was it something that you kind of thought of in school? Because that's like, I mean, that takes you back to being sort of 15, 16 years old, right?
Yeah. It's not something I really thought of initially. I've always had that sort of business passion. I used to like love selling things when I was younger.
Mm.
It really just sparked when I joined college. Was when like the main idea for Bug Box came up. I was just sat having like
Okay,
a conversation with the enterprise coordinator at the time,
brilliant.
giving her loads of different ideas because I really wanted my own business. And then we saw that there was actually just one other store in Wales selling exotic insects, and down in Pembrokeshire. So we thought this is a great opportunity here to go ahead and set up Bug Box.
That's so cool. So cool. And I've got to ask you, I'm gonna put this question. I usually leave this to the end, but I'm gonna put this one at the beginning. What one word would you use to describe yourself?
Um, oh gosh, I would say if it's one word, probably like a risk taker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I
give
love
you a hyphen in the middle so we can have those one then.
it.
Okay, that's really, really cool. So what's been your route to today?
Yeah, so I was born in Llachley. I had just like the sort of normal upbringing. My mother's like a single parent. Me, her, my brother, my grandparents. We all like lived together. Um, yeah, and I just sort of I think seeing like my family doing like 9 to 5 jobs, and then I had my first 9 to 5 job, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I prefer to work for myself. I'd love to own my own business, and I'd love to like be in that sort of control, if you sort of guess what I mean.
Mm,
Sort of mean. So
mm.
that's when I sort of decided, oh, I really like this sort of business idea. I really like business, and then that became part of my upbringing, and in a way.
Brilliant, brilliant. So what have you learnt along the way then? So what big lessons have you picked up?
Oh gosh, probably definitely that it's normal to make mistakes, and you probably make a lot of them at the
Yeah.
start. That was a big lesson for me. But like, don't let it get at you as well at the same time. It's sort of like natural thing that everyone makes. Um,
Mm,
that was probably like one of the big things I learned along the way. There's been like little things too, like such as like marketing when you set up your own business.
mm,
That sort of thing, because I didn't study business at the time of because I was like 15, 16 years old. So all
mm.
of my business sort of knowledge is kind of like self-taught.
And I've got to ask you, so with Bob, but where do you breed the insects?
Well, at first, because I was only 15, they were literally in my bedroom. So you can imagine my mother's
Oh,
thoughts at the time.
oh, yeah.
So
And what types of bugs are we talking about in your bedroom?
so we're talking about like tarantulas, giant millipedes, massive giant African land snails. So they used to be in my bedroom at the start, and some like I'm very chilled out when it comes to, like, looking after them, so sometimes I forget to, like, actually, like, lock the lids and everything on the tanks, so they would, like, escape
Right.
and go straight into my mother's bedroom. They sort of, like, sense the fear.
So what was the most scary thing that your mum would have kinda come in face or come in contact with?
Well, she's had giant millipedes hide under her bed before. We've had
'Cause they
jump
are big, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah, they are probably about 30 centimeters, the size of, like, a school ruler, and they're just curled up under her bed. She's had jumping spiders on the landing ceiling, jumping around. She's had everything, fair play.
and where are they now? I mean, I presume you've got premises now.
So I've worked from sheds in the back of my garden. I'm, like, lucky enough to have, like, a nice sized garden. So,
Okay.
I purchased, a nice big shed when I was 17, and, we moved out into the garden then, which my mother was very thankful for.
And in terms of your kind of ambition, where's your ambition for the business?
Well, I mainly set up bug books because I don't know if you know like much about the exotic market, but it's all like bad press. It's not very regulated, um,
Mm,
that
mm,
sort of thing. So I thought we were the first store to be eco-ethical and sustainable. So they are like a really big passion of mine. And it makes me very ambitious to keep going. So when we brought that sort of change to the hobby, um, it sort of got people thinking in a way, like, "Oh, how are my current stores I'm purchasing from bringing in these insects? Are they like brown
yeah.
boxing them, which is just a way of saying like smuggling them in." Um,
Mm,
so that's sort of what gives me that sort of ambition.
that's so cool. And who's helped you kind of along the way? I mean, obviously your mums are just brilliant,
Yeah.
but anyone else?
Oh, yeah, I've had literally so much support with the business. When I was back in college, we had, as in colleague cigar at the time, we had
Mm.
the enterprise teams. They would help me with like business plans, making sure everything's legal, not illegal, making sure it's not illegal.
Brilliant.
That sort of thing, like like financing, helping me get funding. I won a bursary with Llanelli Old Grammar Boys. So they
Brilliant.
had funding and mentorship. So they're still my business mentors to date. And I was back in 2018. Yeah, I've literally had so much support. Big Ideas Wales, they were absolutely fantastic.
And it's funny, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're very lucky in Wales that we do get. I mean, I work with Big Ideas Wales as a mentor and stuff, and I love that as an organisation that they can help, kind of people with just kind of entrepreneurial ideas, at all levels. But
Yeah.
we're lucky, aren't we? We do get a lot of support. So, what obstacles have kind of hindered you or helped you along the way and kind of got through?
I think my first ever big obstacle was probably the business bank account um, sort of thing because I was very young at the time. I was under 18, so it was like impossible to get a business bank account. And I obviously
Mm,
needed one of them for people to pay me and just to keep track of all expenditures and everything.
mm,
So then my mother kind of became my accountant then, so she came to the rescue again, and she was able
brilliant.
to sort that for me then. Um, yeah, I think that was my biggest challenge. Just I literally took weeks and weeks trying to figure out what I can do. If there was any other places, like if PayPal could accept me or
Mm.
anything like that. So that was my most stressful and biggest challenge. But I think a positive obstacle was outgrowing my bedroom. Because then I obviously
Brilliant.
purchased a shed, which was like a lot of money for a 17-year-old. It was like such a big risk.
Mm.
But thankfully that risk played out quite positively, and we're still out here now.
And I mean, are you still excited? I mean, you can hear the excitement in your voice. It's lovely. And are you still excited about the business?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like the passion's there every single day. It's something I really enjoy, and I've
Brilliant.
got a passion for the exotic insects and everything. So that definitely helps a lot too.
I love the three things about being eco and ethical and kind of sustainable. That's such a wise thing to think about in today's kind of climate because you could have easily have just set up and gone, well, to heck with it. I'll just get the the kind of the bugs out there, and it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter about the kind of the ethics. But that's such a wise thing to think of.
Yeah, it's definitely the three core values that I, absolutely love. And I didn't like shopping when I was a customer in this market. I didn't like shopping in these other stores because I knew they were coming in illegally,
Mm.
so I was contributing to that. So I thought this definitely needs to be a change here, and it was my passion, so I thought that was great then.
That's so brilliant. That's really, really cool. So what keeps you going when times get tough? Because it's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes you'd think that actually setting up a kind of a bank account would be really easy, but obviously because of money laundering and stuff, it's really hard these days. And obviously, as you mentioned about your kind of your age and stuff. So what keeps you going when things get tough?
Probably looking back on 15, 16-year-old myself, where I was then, where I am now, looking at like the awards we've won. We've been in many awards, like the Great British Entrepreneur Awards last year. We've been in Swansea Bay Business
Wow,
Awards. We filmed with
wow,
BBC. We went viral in China last year. So I think, like looking back at stuff like
wow.
that and seeing how far I've come, that really sort of like keeps that drive there then.
That's so cool. And you've mentioned you've had some really good press as well.
Yeah, the press absolutely love the business because it's so niche
So,
and it's so unusual. We went viral in China during lockdown, which was
mm,
amazing. Then we went viral in Australia. We went a little viral
wow.
in the UK. We was on like the Metro, Daily Star, BBC News, Channel 5 News and everything.
And what advice would you give to somebody who maybe has I mean, the thing that I love is you've linked your hobby with kind of a business idea, and that's what kind of obviously fuels you and kind of stuff. But what advice would you give to somebody who's younger, who's maybe thinking about starting their own business and stuff?
Definitely just go for it. I held her back a lot. I let little things like not having enough money to start the business or not having that sort of knowledge get in the way, and I sort of left that going for a couple of months. But when I started,
Mm.
I was a bit like, "Oh, this is a lot easier and less stressful than I initially thought." So yeah, definitely just go for it. Don't let anything like sort of get in your way. Do as much as you can before them obstacles come at you, sort of thing.
Brilliant. And is that the advice you would give to your younger self? So if you could go back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, just go for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. If I could, I definitely would do that.
That's really, really cool. And what advice would you like to give others, not just in terms of business, but I mean, one thing that I really loved what you said earlier was that it's normal to make mistakes, and don't let it get to you. I really loved those two pieces of advice. So, what other advice would you give to kind of other people?
I would probably say like stick to what you believe in as well. So for us, it's mainly like our ethics. We were, as I just said, like the first ever store to sort of be ethical, sustainable, and eco. So it was like quite a big risk.
Mm.
Um, but just stick to your ethics, and then there's other people which also feel that way, so they will always be your customers. There'll always be customers there. I We were obviously more expensive because we did imports and everything legally, so it was more expensive to do that. So I thought people would just stick with the other stores because they'd be cheaper and it's easier then. But no, they actually all did come to
Mm.
us, and they all now stand for what we stand for, which is making our competitors turn eco-ethical and sustainable. So just stick with your guns really, and if you are ethical, just be loud and proud about it.
That's so brilliant. That's such a nice thing to hear, from you. And what do you think of people like kind of Greta, Thunberg in terms of what she's sort of saying about the environment and the planet and stuff? Is that something that you kind of sign up to as well?
Yes, something we definitely like, sort of follow. We do our bit by being as equal as possible from the suppliers all the way up to the customers receiving our goods. and we use couriers with like low carbon footprint and everything. But it's definitely something all businesses should at least try to do, just to make a better future for others. Really.
Of course, yeah, it's brilliant. The thing that I love about you, Cameron, is that you're so morally driven. And does that so where did that come from? Is that something that you learnt along the way, or is that something that you've always had?
Um, I think it's probably something I've always had. From the
Mm.
sort of like upbringing we've had from my mother, really.
That's really, really good. I remember listening to an interview with Marcus Rashford when he was talking about free school meals, and I mean he came from a single parent family, and his mum, he said, was just had such amazing morals and values, and he said that really shaped him, and I really loved that about him, and I love that about you as well, is that you get that from a good source, in terms of your mum.
Yeah, definitely. She was like, absolutely. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be able to do what she done.
So tell us more. I mean, so what ambitions have you for the future? I mean, do you see bigger premises? I mean, how many sheds have you got? Just the one in the garden at the moment?
Yeah, we've got just the one at the moment, but we are outgrowing this shed now as well. I think lockdown did
Oh,
us
yeah.
good and bad. It did good in sales, but obviously we lost loads of school bookings and everything. But for the future, we're sort of like looking to expand into the US, because the market out there is absolutely huge.
Wow.
There's such a big market out there, and exotic pets are commonly kept by families and children out there. Like tarantulas are really common pets out there, so it's definitely a market
Wow.
that we're looking to
Wow.
tap into.
So cool. And you mentioned talks, doing kind of going to kind of schools and stuff. And what do you do talks on? I mean, do you take giant snails and stuff with you?
Yeah, so we take an array of different insects and arachnids with us, and then we just really teach the children why they're important in the environment and how they can help them. And then some schools have like sort of wildlife areas, so we can
Mm.
like make little bug homes and that sort of thing to put outside then, for just to increase the species numbers.
It's so cool that because I mean I always think because people say oh ants don't matter or flies don't matter, but when you look at the kind of whole ecosystem, then everything matters, doesn't it? I mean we look at I don't know if you've seen the Netflix documentary Seaspiracy and kind of what's going on around the world, and we've just got to be so careful with all this stuff, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, if there wasn't insects in the world, then we probably wouldn't be here either, because we need them to like pollinate our crops. The animals that we eat
Mm.
insects. They're fantastic protein, that sort of thing.
And how do young people, when you go into schools, react to you and the kind of the bugs and stuff? Is it kind of a mixture of oh you're creepy, or do they kind of really get on board with the message?
Yeah, we have a good mix. At first, I think people are really standoffish. You have like your screams when you go into primary schools and everything, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite part. um, but they do start to build that courage throughout the day. They do like really well, and then before you know it, they're holding their
Mm.
first ever tarantula. It's brilliant.
So your main message is kind of looking after the planet and the environment, is it, with them?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it's just what they do, just to let everybody know why we're helping them, how they help us, and then how we can help
Mm.
them.
And do you find that most people are kind of supportive of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely, especially when we go into events. We've haven't yet, touch wood, had any negative um sort of like feedback or reaction from people. But I think people get more shocked on how the insects actually
Mm.
like supporters need us more than anything, and how we need them more than anything.
Yeah, that's so true. And what's your favorite? So if you just had one species or one insect or arachnid or whatever that you could keep, what would it be? What's your favorite?
Oh gosh, it'd probably be something like the Australian huntsman spider. Absolutely love them, but at the same time they do freak me out a little bit. But apart from that, they are my favorite.
And what is it about them that one you like and two kind of freaks you out?
Um, it's how fast they go that freaks me out, because they literally teleport. It's crazy. But I like how weird they are and like how bulky they are for a huntsman. Because normally huntsmans are like really thin, skinny, slender spiders. But I like how big and bulky these spiders are, and they just look so cool.
Wow, wow. And I know that you said earlier that it's something that you've always been kind of interested in, but how did you, what was your first kind of exotic pet?
I think it may have been a stick insect. Um, One of my friends from primary school used to have them as pets. And then when I went over there and saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why don't I have one? So then the stick insect actually had loads of eggs. They all hatched. So I had a couple of the babies. And I was
Oh,
just so fascinated from there. I was like, this is amazing.
that's so cool. That's amazing. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I love the fact that it was a kind of a passion and that you've now turned it into a business and, you know, it's reaping benefits for you. I think that's fantastic. It really is. I love it. So, in terms of your plans, do you see, I mean, obviously expansion, do you see yourself getting a unit, maybe on an industrial estate or whatever?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the last few months, we've been looking at sort of different shops locally and everything. But I think it is definitely time now to start expanding again. It's always the most daunting process I find out of everything is the sort of expansion. Like
Mm.
it goes through my head a lot, like will it work? What if it fails, sort of thing. But then I do
Mm.
like taking the risk. So we're definitely trying to find the most suitable place at the moment.
Okay, so what legacy would you like to leave behind? I mean, I know you're relatively young, but I mean, if you could kind of leave something behind for the people, what would it be?
Um, I'd probably be that sort of bold impact on the hobby, on the market. Like I previously
Mm.
mentioned, about the trade and how bad it is, just to like sort of clear that up
Mm.
and make it a more sustainable and more ethical trade. Just doing that alone would be absolutely amazing.
That's really lovely. And who are your kind of heroes? I mean, either business or naturalists or kind of people who are in the natural world.
Definitely people, like David Attenborough, 100%.
Mm.
He's like the top there. But then there's other people, like Steve Backshall, Nick Baker, the guy that like studies insects, entomology and
Mm.
everything. In sort of business worlds, I like
Mm.
Sarah Davis from Dragon's Den. I think she's absolutely amazing for
Mhm.
how she grew from nothing to this massive, like, sort of craft empire.
Mhm.
So it's people that sort of in the
Mhm.
business world that had the same sort of background from me. I definitely like look up to them a lot.
It's so cool. Do you know, it's funny, Karen? I mean, I've done a few of these podcasts and I absolutely love doing them. And I haven't stopped smiling. In actual fact, my cheeks ache because I'm just smiling because I love your, well, I love your story. I love your enthusiasm. And I think what you're doing is brilliant. It's just it's such a wonderful story.
Oh, thank you.
Cameron, it's been an absolute pleasure. Seriously, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. One, getting to know you, and also kind of lifting the lid on your business, Bug Box. It's just brilliant. So, how do people find you?
So you can search our website, which is bugboxuk.co.uk, or on social media. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everything. It's just at bugboxuk.
Brilliant. We'll put a link in the overview as well. Cameron, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I mean, it really has. It's been lovely talking to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.